Hello and welcome to Threefold Herbal Healing. I'm herbalist Leo Sade. I help people who struggle with chronic conditions grow their health from the roots up. Outside the sun is shining, the birds are singing, and the snow is melting. All signs that spring is springing, and I wanted to talk about herbal spring tonics. Most of us think about healthcare as something that we turn to when we get sick. Herbal medicine offers a different model, one that is rooted in prevention. Through daily habits and consistent herbal support, it can tune the body and create smoother, more resilient baseline for all the body's processes. Think of it like you think about your car. You don't wait for your car to break down before doing an oil change or tuning up the engine. In the same way, herbs can support your body and help prevent problems before they start. So, what are herbal tonics? Herbal tonics are herbs that are used consistently over time to build, strengthen, or restore function in the body. Unlike remedies taken for acute conditions, symptoms, tonics work gradually, building capacity and resilience. They can also be used preventatively, either to support a specific organ system or to help the body adapt to stressor, such as seasonal changes. And we are talking about it because spring is a huge seasonal change. So there are two categories that have a really thin line between them, and this line is very blurry sometimes. We are talking about herbal tonics, but there is also a category of herbs that is called herbal tropho-restorative. That's a mouthful. But what is really a difference? Herbal tonics support function over time by correcting deficiency. In contrast, herbal tropho-restorative more directly on tissue, helping restore structure and long-term capacity. In simple terms, tonics support processes, tropho-restorative support tissue. Because of this different, their effect is different. Tonic tend to have a more immediate functional impact that fade the moment you discontinue. Tropho-restoratives, however, often promote structural changes that can persist longer after you stop taking them. So let's use some examples so we make the differentiation clearer. Bitters are a classic example of tonics. If you take bitter regularly before meals, they increase digestive enzyme and bile production. They improve digestion and absorption and elimination. However, their effect diminish relatively quickly once you stop using them. An example for a tropho-restorative will be hawthorn. It works directly on the cardiovascular tissue, protecting the heart and the blood vessel with antioxidants, and it also supports nitric oxide production, which actually kind of help create integrity, keep the flexibility of the arteries. That this gives it more a lasting, nourishing effect on the cardiovascular system. So it is something that you would use more like in heart failure, heart blood pressure, heart attack, those conditions. Why does it really matter? Understanding the difference help guide how we use the herb, what herbs we are using, and when. Tonics are best suited for deficiency that result in insufficient processes. They should be taken consistently alongside lifestyle changes until function improve, often 6 to 8 weeks. Tropho restorative herbs are better suited for chronic tissue decline due to chronic condition such as high blood pressure or chronic kidney disease. They tend to act more slowly and usually require a longer term of use. Herbal tonics also have an organ affinity. So each system in the body have herbal tonic that better suit to that system. Let's talk about the nervous system. Nervine tonics strengthen the nervous system ability to handle stress and adapt to challenges. They are not what you would reach out when you are in crisis. When you want to pull your hair because, ooh, that's not when you reach out for herbal tonics. That's when you go for the herbal sedative, herbal relaxant. But for long-term support, especially if you are prone to burnout, recovering from depletion, living with chronic stress, chronic illness, or with pain, herbal tonics is what you're going, nervine tonics is what you're going to reach for. Their effect is more subtle, but it's building, it's culminative. Often people only notice their impact after several weeks of use. So you take something and you don't think it's working, you don't think it's working, but then 6, 8 weeks later, you suddenly say to yourself, oh, I feel more settled. Or for some people, it happens that they take it, they don't feel any change, and then when the bottle is empty and they stop taking it and suddenly they are stressed again, then they say, oh my God, that was really helpful. So it's really subtle effect, but still very helpful, very, very beneficial. Digestive tonics are mostly bitters. They improve all facets of digestion. So they increase stomach acid, bile production, pancreatic enzyme production, and elimination. So it's all like they move digestion better, they break down food better, and they help you absorb better. Vascular tonics are herbs that improve circulation. So, as opposed to water that actually improve the tone and integrity of blood vessels, vascular tonic improve the circulation. Some, like ginger, cayenne, and prickly ash, stimulate movement from the center of the body into the periphery. Now, let's talk about herbal tonic and seasonality, or the wheel of the year, as I like to call it. One reason I really love living in New Hampshire is that we have 4 very different seasons. Winter is freezing and snowing, and oh my God, we had a lot of snow last winter. Spring is mud season, which I can say I love, and the budding of the trees, the bloom, when everything is waking up, that part I love. Summer is warm and abundant and intense. And the fall, of course, is the beauty of fall foliage. As the environment changes, so does the body. Seasonal shifts influence the food that you crave. So you crave different food in different season, but also your sleep quality and quantity and the amount and type of movement that you engage with. Different seasons also call for different herbal tonics. In the summer, you might crave cooling herbs like mint, lemon balm, elderflower. Winter tonic often include warming circulatory stimulants like ginger, horseradish, and cayenne, as well as respiratory supporting herbs that are used during cold and infection conditions. The in-between season, fall and spring, are really challenging to the body because those shifts that many times are accompanied by winds daily shifts in weather. One day it's very cold, one day it's very hot, and the body as a whole and the immune system need to constantly adapt to those environmental changes. And we see that strain. We see it in winter colds. A lot of people get colds and flu really in October, November because of those shifts, and also in seasonal allergies because I know that the triggers are there in the spring, but at the same time, your immune system capacity is already strained, so it's very easy to kind of tilt it into a reaction. Traditionally, herbal tonics used in the fall were anabolic, building immune capacity and resilience, such as astragalus, codonopsis, prinseng, and cordyceps. So before we spring into spring, what are we springing for? What are we leaving behind us? Winter, we crave nourishing, building, warm foods like soups and stew. Historically, humans ate more meat and roots in the winter because they didn't have access to greens, for example. Meat and roots were easy to preserve, to keep in the root cellar, and they were also very good in creating calories, in providing the calories needed for a long, very cold winter. At the same time, most people move less in winter. Even those who enjoy outdoor activities tend to spend less time being active in winter. Combined with the heavy meal, this can lead to feeling of physical and mental sluggishness. So you know that feeling in the end of March where you feel heavy. You even might have added a couple of pounds into your weight. So it's physically that we have gained weight, but it's also like the digestive system is a little bit sluggish. Some people feel more constipated, and the mental, there is more brain fog and fatigue. All of that is associated with all this long winter of a lot of potatoes, a lot of fruits, and less greens. Spring was traditionally associated with detox because when people emerge from winter, they peeled a couple of layers. Yes, those layers were coats and sweaters, but also the physical heaviness and mental sluggishness had to go too in order to jump or to spring into the growing season. Most people were farmers, and even if you were not farmer, if you wanted to increase activity, you had to take off all these things that weigh you down. Before refrigerators and supermarket, which were invented only a minute in the span of human history, people didn't eat any vegetables other than roots in the winter simply because they could not preserve them. In the absence of fresh green for months, people were depleted nutritionally. So we are talking about mainly vitamin C, but other vitamins too, because they didn't have any access to fresh leaves all winter long. Now, the first part that emerges from the thawing earth in spring is the leaves. It's like what we need is there for us to take. Spring leaves are especially crispy and nourishing. Traditionally, folks would consume those bitter, mineral-rich, fresh spring greens and roots as soon as they emerge. Since the common experience was that eating those fresh leaves alleviated the winter sluggishness, they became the foundation of spring diet. Spring tonics are primarily bitter greens, usually wheats, let's be honest, that support metabolism and the body's natural cleansing processes. and they work through several pathways. First of all, they replete the nutritional depletion. So you didn't eat greens for a full winter. Now you are vitamin C or some minerals, chlorophyll deficient. So herbs like dandelion leaves, nettle, and chickweed or violet have all those vitamins, minerals that you are missing, and you can replete your body with them. The bitters in dandelion, in yellow dock, in burdock root can help kind of eliminate or move the digestive system after months of heavy, rich, preserved foods. And of course, the reduced physical activity, they help move the digestive system again. They stimulate digestive secretion, improve bile flow, and help kind of wake up the digestive function. Many spring tonics are also alternative herbs. Alternative herbs used to treat what they call blood or what they thought about as a blood purifier. Today we think about them a little bit differently. We think about them as herbs that support lymphatic drainage in the liver and in the lymphatic system. They help elimination of and kind of resolve stagnation of the lymphatic system. So that's that. Let's talk a little bit about bioavailability, because the idea that when you take a herb, it immediately goes into your body and does what it needs to do is a little bit, we need to learn about it. Bioavailability is the extent to which an active ingredient or a nutrient from herb and food can reach your system, your circulation, and actually have an effect in the body. Herbal tonic, like everybody else, need some companions to go into the body and actually have an effect. So let's talk about how can you use herbal tonic and gain all their wonderful benefits. First of all, fresh plant material is much, much better than the dry material. Uh, Constituents like vitamin C and chlorophyll are degraded by drying and storage. As also aromatic, they are degraded when you dry the herbs and you store them. So the fresh the quality is totally different. So using herbal tonic right after you pick them up is highly beneficial. It's a total different medication than if you take them and you dry them and you use them a year after. And since they are there right now, when you need them, use them fresh from the garden. I will talk about contamination later, but take care of where you wildcraft your weeds. Most, if not all, of the herbal tonics that grow as weeds in the spring are water soluble. What does it mean? Minerals and vitamins in spring tonics are extracted well in water, which means that they are used well in tea, cold infusion. You can add them to your smoothies. You can juice them, but that means that you have to use a large amount of plant material. It will be more concentrated though. But basically, this is a really good way to use herbal tonic. Many spring tonic are bitters. For example, dandelion root and leaf. The bitterness itself trigger like a reflex cascade in the body. So you ingest them, you put them on your tongue, and your tongue receptors feel the bitter taste and immediately send messages to the brain and to the digestive tract that improve bioavailability basic. It's improve your capacity to break down, absorb um, everything that you take inside. So just taking bitter with your herbal tonic, or the idea that your herbal tonics are bitter, means that you will absorb better other constituents from those herbs. So, for example, minerals and vitamins from dandelion are absorbed better because dandelion is also bitter. And they are uh, alternatives. So they work best when they are actually getting the all plant experience. Bitter, stimulating digestion, diuretic compounds reaching the kidney, the fiber supporting bowel movement, strong decoction of dandelion or burdock root consumed regularly provide much more than, one of them. If you use the entire plant fresh in water, you get the best bioavailability. What about vinegars? Because traditionally people use vinegars in the spring too. Why is that? Vinegar is excellent at extracting minerals, which is precisely what you want from many of spring tonic herbs. When you infuse nettle, dandelion, or other mineral-rich spring greens in vinegar, the acetic acid helps dissolve the calcium, magnesium, potassium, and other minerals, even water-soluble vitamin to some degree. Combining spring tonic with vinegar, it's really a brilliant way to use those herbs because both the spring tonic and the vinegar address similar patterns that you see when you come out of winter. Organic acids are high in histamine, and histamine increase stomach acid production. Bitters also stimulate secretion of digestive juices, including stomach acid. Stomach acid helps break down minerals in food and facilitate their absorption. The sour taste from the vinegar removes lymphatic stagnation and improves the elimination of waste products. Do you see how it's all synergetic? The sour, bitter, mineral-rich, stimulating nature of spring tonic vinegars cuts through all of that. It's cooling enough not to overeat, but moving enough to break stagnation. It's nutritive, but not too much. It's not going to cause diarrhea. It's improve your ability to extract nutrition from everything else that you eat. Traditionally, spring tonic vinegars were made by filling a jar with fresh spring greens, dandelion, nettle, chickweed, violet, cleavers, then covering them with apple cider vinegar and letting them sit 2 to 6 weeks. I just want to say, you want to chop the herbs really fine and expose their cells. Don't put whole leaves in the vinegar. I actually suggest even putting the entire solutions through the food processor or the blender, so it's really mixed well together and the vinegar have good access to the cell. You then strain it and use it in salad dressing, diluted in water as beverage, or straight on a tablespoon. Many spring tonics are common and easy to forage in your yard, in meadows, in the woodland, usually a little around the woodland, not in, but kind of on the boundaries, of the edges. You want to be mindful of where you harvest. You want to be away from roadsides because you don't want all the toxins from the car. You want to be away from sprayed areas, and you want to be away from places where dogs and cats peeped and pooed or other contaminations. So think about it when you harvest. They are awesome. They are pretty safe to use. But now it's the time to say that this video is not in any way a recommendation or a call to action. It's educational. If you need help, if you feel heaviness, sluggishness, constipation, chronic condition that needs support, reach out to me. I now offer 15 minutes herbal consultation. You can find me at www.threefoldherbalhealing.com. Thank you for taking the time to listen to that. I hope you find it beneficial. I would love to hear from you, your thought, your questions, whatever you want to add. Let me know and see you next week. Bye.